A sit-down interview with Representative Ocasio-Cortez, and looks like there's a little bit of breaking news here. Ocasio-Cortez made it pretty clear that there is one candidate that she will not endorse. Take a look.
I'm gonna put my mainstream media hat on for a second. I know you're not gonna endorse right now and you're holding off, but what kind of presidential candidate would you want to endorse? What kind of values, what kind of policy positions would be in the forefront of your mind?
Listen, I think we need a progressive president. I think a progressive president can beat Trump. As much as people think that that's not possible, I think it's the only way. I really believe the only way that we're gonna be able to beat this president is with a progressive candidate. So we need candidates that are committed to Medicare for all, to tuition-free public colleges and universities. We need a candidate that is dedicated to passing at least a $15 minimum wage, ideally one that's pegged to inflation. There's so much that we need in a progressive candidate, and we need one that isn't bought by corporations. I think that's the huge thing. We need one that isn't beholden to Wall Street. And that to me narrows the field significantly from the 20-odd people that are in there right now. It's no secret that I kind of called for eliminations last week.
So she will not be endorsing Joe Biden. I think that's pretty clear. In fact, it's even more clear once you watch the next video.
That's how you define progressive. That's how I would define progressive. But then Joe Biden goes, I'm the most progressive candidate in the race. I have the most progressive record. It's just patently untrue.
Right. And I think record is important because it shows a consistency in values and beliefs. But the term progressive is getting hijacked so much that people just think it means Democrat now. And not all Democrats are progressive. And I'm sorry, but if you're gonna come out and saying that you support the Hyde Amendment, which prevents us from funding clinics like Planned Parenthood, that's not progressive.
Yeah.
That's not a progressive position. And you know what? If your pride is being a moderate centrist candidate, then go out and say that. Say, I'm proud to be a centrist. I'm proud to be funded by Wall Street. I'm proud to not push as hard as I can on women's rights. Say it, own it, be it, but don't kind of come out here and then say you're a progressive candidate, but at the same time not support repealing something as basic as the Hyde Amendment.
So I want to just quickly give you some information about what's happening with the Hyde Amendment and what Democrats are currently doing. There is a bill in Congress right now known as the Equal Access to Abortion Coverage and Health Insurance, and it's you can shorten it for each woman. And the legislation has a ton of co-sponsors, including Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar. We're talking about people who aren't progressives, but whatever, at least they're signing on to this. Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, Bernie Sanders, Eric Swalwell, and Seth Moulton. Man, there are some names in here where I'm like, who?
Heavy hitters, heavy hitters, Seth Moulton.
Yeah, in other words, almost every currently serving member of Congress who's running for president, with the exception of Michael Bennet, Tulsi Gabbard, and Tim Ryan. So, I think that the Hyde Amendment is a really interesting issue that's being tackled right now. I'm glad it's being discussed, but I wanted to just give you that information and then also get your thoughts on what she had to say there. I thought one of the most interesting things she brought up was the term progressive is getting hijacked. What are your thoughts?
Well, I guess in a way that's progress, right? Because for a long time, in the late '90s, early 2000s, Democrats ran away from that kind of label. They ran away from the word liberal or the word progressive. They said other things that I'm strong or I'm blah 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 whatever. So in a way, in some sort of twisted way, it's progress that a guy like Joe Biden, who in 1995 would have absolutely been like, I'm not a liberal. Is now being, feels that he needs to embrace that term. So,
and needs to embrace.
Does anyone believe him? No.
No, of course not. You don't believe, especially when he talks about climate change and says, I want to take a middle ground approach.
Middle ground too. We're only going to sacrifice Bangladesh. We can just get rid of Bangladesh.
Maldives
yeah, who cares about middle ground? We're going to save Miami. maybe.
Yeah, sorry, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I love that she did focus on I want the most progressive person to win versus a conversation that we see now that is very much out in the media trying to support Biden's run, which is electability.
Right.
And so she is opposing this idea that the progressive person is not electable. And it's really ironic to hear this from the Democratic camp, because guess who wasn't electable? Was Trump. Trump all the way in the primaries was a laughing stock, and then he made it through the primaries. And then it was inevitable that he was gonna lose because he wasn't electable. Yeah, he lost by 3 million votes. But I think the thing that we don't understand is there was a strategy, and the strategy was winning the Electoral College. And so I think this is what AOC is pointing to, is that we can think about progressivism and looking at true progressives as a package strategy of addressing student loans, as addressing healthcare, as addressing everything that most Americans care about. And we're gonna talk about Elizabeth Warren later. I think she also emphasizes not only strategy, but grassroots movement work that needs to be done. And that's usually at the heart of progressivism, is to be in a grassroots space and to have your ear to the ground.
Exactly, yes. And just going back to the issue of progressivism and electability, the conventional wisdom would tell you that if you are a progressive, you are not as electable, right? That's what we keep hearing over and over again. But if that's really the case, why is it that we keep hearing centrist Democrats refer to themselves as progressives,
right,
with the exception of Amy Klobuchar and Hickenlooper? Everyone else seems to want to take on that label. Well, why? Why would you do that if progressives are not electable?
Yeah, and it's not like the Klobuchar and Hickenlooper campaigns are catching fire. Their latest polling, I think, is at or near 1 or 0%. Listen, the most progressive candidate, the most progressive president, arguably in the history of the United States, was a guy named FDR. FDR won 4 elections. Americans would have elected him president for life had he not died after his 4th election win. So this idea that you have to be this kind of like amorphous, centrist candidate to win elections is just completely bonkers and ahistorical.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.